Okay, people, today let's take a quick look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends X-Men Gladiator and Deathbird. You do not know how happy I am right now. Hasbro seems to be just knocking off my checklist left and right lately. There's a whole lot of focusing in on my favorite era of comic book reading, and the hits just keep on coming. It feels like it's been just, oh, is this for me personally? Okay. And this new set is no different. If you watch the Playdays, you know I just made a custom of Deathbird 3 or 4 months ago. This year sometime, and then boom, here I am opening up an actual retail version. And I don't mind that at all, because I customize for the pure fun of it, the pure hell of it. Because when you think about it, it's probably a very, very short list of characters that Hasbro is never going to even consider. So to customize any character at any level, there's a risk. But again, I don't mind. I just like doing that. And if it comes back around, so be it. Looking at the package here, it's what we're used to with the Marvel Legends 2-packs. There is the Marvel Legends logo, the X-Men logo, looking beautiful and iconic, Marvel's Gladiator, in case you were expecting a different Gladiator, Deathbird, and then, of course, warning, choking hazard, small parts. Don't put the R in your mouth. On the side, there is some artwork for both characters. Then on the back, there's different artwork for each character, along with a bio, in case you missed it back in the day. On the other side, even more artwork, and then Deathbird, Marvel's Gladiator, Marvel Legends logo. On the top, X logo. On bottom, all the legalese, along with the barcode. Let's get this open, see what's going on here. We're gonna start with Gladiator, because we've gotten him before. In fact, we've gotten him twice before. This is the original release. There is a metallic sheen to the blues, and then gold for the emblem and the trim of the cape. There was a re-release of this in toned down blues, more matte, and then yellow instead of gold. Comparing to the new one, there is nothing reused here except for the cape. It still has that hard candy shell feel to it. High collar, the discs with the sculpted chain in between, the sculpted trim coming down and around. It flows out on the right side and in on the left, like it has some sway in the wind. And plugged into the back, it does lay down on the chest. I'm going to be holding it like this most of the time, and it will look like it's popped up. But in neutral position, not too bad. It's easy to think that the head is reused because he has the same general expression, which is just completely pissed off. That first one had the scowl to it. Here, same scowl, but it is a different sculpt. In fact, it may be a little madder. There's also more texture up to the top of the mohawk. I think a biggie is the pupils in the eyes. It gives them a bit more humanity. I got nothing against whited out eyes. In fact, that makes them look a bit more angry and alien, maybe. But this is definitely better. Not the same body, though. The first one used those Liefeldian pecs on the torso, and it just kind of came off as awkward. Good for the time, because it was a big body, but severely outdated at this point. This is the Hercules body for the most part, which I absolutely love. Not quite as powerful looking as the first one. It's a bit leaner, but all the body parts integrate so much better. And I'm mostly talking about the shoulders, how they just flow from the neck down to the arm. That does mean no butterflies, and of course the tried and true crunchticles in the torso, but overall, it comes off as sleek. Wrinkles to the crotch piece, same legs, pinless knees, down to the boot cut. That's when we kick into Hyperion and his new boots, or well, I guess I should say lower legs and feet. That has the same general shape and an updated joint with the dumbbell in the mid-torso, but they can't reuse this body because of the girdle. You take that off and it's really skinny and smooth under there, so that needs to be redone. It also seems to be newer arms, and not just because of the pinless elbows. There's actually different vein work to the biceps and the forearms, possibly from somewhere else, but I don't recognize them offhand. Other than that, the costume is just painted on. You have the triangles at the top of the thighs, lines cutting across the biceps, the chest logo with another red triangle going into the blue, and then the belt with some belt loops and the buckle that is unfortunately just painted on there. That would have been awesome as a separate piece, just kind of sticking off, just to add another dimension to the whole thing, since it is just a bodysuit. There is a little bit of gold paint here on the discs, just to make those stand out a bit. There's also some blue dry brush to the mohawk just to give it some extra definition. Slightly larger blank body that they could use on some of the beefier characters. An updated Gladiator is nice to have, but I bought this set specifically for Deathbird. Look at this crazy alien lady. Before getting into all these unique parts, I gotta point out that the legs are reused from Lalandra. Have the texture on the upper legs, the kick down in the armor, couple of sculpted lines above the knee, 2 above the ankle, and then the knee pads. Oh, and the same feet too, just kind of blank with a cut above the toe. God, they look so good together. And then there's the arms. It's fairly blank underneath this forearm overlay, so I'm guessing this is just the usual female double pinless elbow bicep cut arm. Those overlays on the lower arms are nice with the rib look and then the cables coming out and running up to the back. Oh, look at that. I'm not sure if that's something that's ever been seen in the comics, and if it has, I don't remember it. Because then there's this skull here with the cables wrapping around, and then a ball right at the front of the neck with another couple of cables. It seems like that is pegged down through the cape and then glued into the torso, because that's the only place that the cape is held down. Speaking of that, ooh, look at the metallic feathers. Well, okay, it could be scale mail, I guess, if you want to get technical, but I always thought of them as feathers, especially here, the way they kind of fan out from the neck. I guess the upper torso could also be reused with just some holes plugged into it, but the lower torso is definitely new. Have these bluish silver vents and then the sculpt of the cod piece. That is very reminiscent of Uncanny X-Men number 274. Same goes for the headdress, the way it kicks in over the cheeks and then the top with the coming around and the points. That it also looks very much like that artwork. Her hair flying back, R style, and then that grin. That I want to take over the entire Empire look. It just works so well with these kind of clawed hands and the painted black fingernails. Same kind of goes for the left as a gesture of some kind. There is some swirly twirly purple plastic going on with the armor pieces, but not so much swirled and twirled as it is a slight translucency. That or it's reflecting the light oddly, but you can see lighter spots. It gives it kind of that alien look. I always say some people don't care for that, but when it comes to comic book characters, I like how it's kind of ethereal, kind of mesmerizing. That's the same for the forearm overlays and the torso pieces. Oh, it's the same up here. The headdress is rubbery, like super soft, but it does have a metallic sheen. Pearly whites, the purple lipstick, the eyebrows, the whited out eyes that give it a more sinister look, and then a little makeup around the eyes. Well, okay, it is very heavy eyeliner, but then it's kind of flaring out underneath. Problem is, being Shi'ar and going back to that artwork, there was a lot more kind of tattoo work going up and around, up the temple and on the side of the face and on the back of the hand. We kind of see it with Lalandra, but it's missing from Deathbird. I don't think the legs are accurate to this look though. I think because of the reuse, it throws that off, but there's enough going on here that it does place it squarely within the Jim Lee era. So maybe there's still a chance at a classic Deathbird, or since they're hot and heavy with the X-Men 97, an animated Deathbird. But for now, this'll do me just fine. For Gladiator's articulation, there is a ball joint at the top of the neck with a hinge going down, but the cape is gonna get in the way of looking up. The mohawk just goes back, hits it. Still, you can push and get that far and then down. Little bit of tilt. Pin coming out to the shoulder rotates around again. The cape is a chunk, but it can go. And then a hinge goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow goes up most of the way. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Crunchticulars go forward, arc back. Cut at the waist. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks forward, back, out. That's not great. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee goes, oh, does go all the way. Move arm. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward. Front facing pin for rocker. For Deathbird, there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck. Can look up a bit, down, Nice tilt. Side, side. Oh, pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates around to about right there, and the cape catches it. Cables don't get too tight out of the way. In fact, there's a hinge that goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow, yeah, that kind of gets in the way. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell joint mid-torso, little forward, little back, tilt, tilt, rotation. Ball coming out to the hip, goes forward, back, out, better than Gladiator. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee, oh, it can go up. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories out of the package, Gladiator comes with a right splayed out hand and a left big grip. Gives him more expression and maybe some fighting options, but then he comes with 2 fists, and that just makes him look tough. But then there is the screaming power erupting from his eyes head. To be honest, I didn't expect to like this as much as I do. You know me, I'm not a big fan of screaming heads, but that paired with that red smoke coming up and then the sharp energy effects sticking out the sides, it just works. And then as far as Deathbird's accessories go, size-wise, Deathbird stands at about 5 3/4 up to the top of her actual head, and then almost 6 1/2 to the top of her little hair wing things. And then Gladiator stands at about 6 3/4 to the top of his actual head, and 7 1/4 to the top of the mohawk. That puts Gladiator shoulder to shoulder with the original version, and then looks absolutely great next to Lilandra. And intimidating next to the X-Men 275 Wolverine and Warlord Xavier. I misplaced my Fang for the Imperial Guard, but here's Gladiator with some Starjammers, Cha'ad and Corsair, and then my custom Warlord Xavier. Here's Deathbird with Lilandra, of course. Great size, they pair perfectly. And then my custom Deathbird. I didn't really base that on any certain look. I just used body parts that were kind of Deathbirdish, like the old Toy Biz Ninja Fighters Deathbird, I think. And then a custom head off Etsy. It's nice to have a semi-comic accurate look. This will go on the main display. I'll still find a place for this somewhere. And then here she is with X-Men 275 Wolverine, since he was the one to bring her in that issue. And then, of course, Warlord Xavier. So at the end of the day, what can I say? 2 excellent additions to the X shelf. Would I have liked to seen a brand new character instead of Gladiator in this pack? Sure, of course, more the merrier, but an updated Gladiator isn't such a bad thing because it's all about Deathbird here. I've been wanting this character in my display forever, enough to go through the trouble of making my own, but now everybody can have a Deathbird, and that makes me happy. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it may not be your exact version of Deathbird, but this opens up the doors. The cable pieces are there. Well, I don't know. I was going to say, what else could they use the new parts on here for? I mean, the head is definitely Deathbird, and I guess it could pass for an animated style or other versions. And then the cable, I don't know. There's possibilities. And then Gladiator, the bigger, slightly beefier blank body for lesser known characters. I know it doesn't have the latest and greatest articulation, but that's how it goes. They have these parts now. They can make some, while the better bodies are being used for the bigger characters, the more well-known characters, or whatever. I don't know. I can't tell the future. I just know that the more bodies they have, the more characters they can get us, or with updates or new or whatever. I just want the collection to keep growing. But as far as the long cover for Uncanny X-Men 275 goes, that just leaves us Zaladane as unmade that we don't have. I'm not quite sure if she's gonna make the cut when it comes to Hasbro. I guess we could use a new Magneto updated with all the pinless. It's been a while, right? X-Men 97? Have we gotten a regular comic book style Magneto in a while? Another one for the list. It keeps going. It's continuous. It never ends. No matter what they do. But that's what we're here for, right? Marvel fans. Woo! Bye!